Good afternoon and welcome to Oasis Church International and Oasis Community Development Center to our Mental Health and Civil Unrest Forum on today. Today we have some awesome panelists that I will be introducing and having them to speak a little bit more about themselves as we talk about mental health and okay, as we talk about mental health and the civil unrest. So first, I'd like to introduce Officer Dexter Mills, who's a corporal at the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Officer Mills, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is Dexter Mills. I'm a corporal with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. I've been in law enforcement for a total of 35 years, and I work various areas throughout the agency and other agencies, such as South Bay Police Department. I'm a corporal in the training division, and I attended school at Palm Beach Atlantic University. I have a bachelor's degree in leadership and organizational management. I have a master's in business administration and public administration. And as of January of this year, I'm considering walking away. You know, I think I have outlived my time and or whatever, and I think want to venture on and do different things. However, I'm glad to be on the panel today, and I'm looking forward to having a great day.
Thank you so much, Officer Mills. So we're going to now go to KaShamba Miller, who is our educator in Palm Beach County School District. She's also a city council person for the city of Riviera Beach, and she is my classmate from Suncoast High School as well as John F. Kennedy Middle School. Welcome, KaShamba.
Thank you, Lisa and Pastor Stan and everyone that's joining us today. As Lisa stated, we go way back to John F. Kennedy Junior High School. I attended schools in Riviera Beach. I was born and raised in Riviera Beach. I attended John F. Kennedy as well as graduated from Suncoast High School. Went on to receive my bachelor's degree in elementary education from Palm Beach Atlantic. And I received my master's in educational leadership with Nova Southeastern University. I've been with the Palm Beach County School District for close to 22 years. I've been a teacher, a reading coach, and I'm currently an assistant principal. I've also am a city council person for the city of Riviera Beach, as Lisa stated earlier. And I've been with the city for 6 years now. I just started my third term in March. And I'm married to my high school sweetheart, Mr. Joseph Anderson, who is also a Port of Palm Beach commissioner as well. So I'm elated to be on the panel and to interact with all of you and just talk a little bit about what's going on in our city and our state at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. You see, Palm Beach Atlantic is representing on today. My undergrad is from Palm Beach Atlantic University as well. Now we're going to hear from our licensed family and mental health therapist, and he's no other than Mathew Jean. If you would just introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mathew Jean. It's such an honor to be here among such distinguished panelists. Oh my gosh, I feel like I shouldn't even be on the panelists with such distinguished individuals, but I am happy to be here, and I'm happy to share my voice to this wonderful organization, the Oasis International Church. I think Lisa and I tried to create a program last time, but I think scheduling were conflicting and we didn't get a chance to make that happen. But I'm happy to be here. Like I said, my name is Mathew Jean. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I am not from Palm Beach. I am from Miami, Miami, Florida. I matriculated through the public school system in Miami. I graduated and went on to Florida A&M University. And I was in a marching band up there, Go 100, you know. And that's where the Palm Beach connection, I think, first started for me, because I met a lot of great musicians from Suncoast. Wonderful musicians, and we still have great ties with them until this day. I finished my bachelor's in a small HBCU in Alabama called Oakwood University, where I studied psychology and theology. I completed my master's at Nova Southeastern University in family therapy. And then the West Palm Beach connection really blossomed when I was in my graduate program, because Palm Beach was where I got most of my mental health training. You know, I interned at the Center for Family Services on Southern and Parker. I also worked at Gratitude House, which was now closed, but I worked there for about 2.5, maybe 3 years. And I worked for a multicultural community mental health in Palm Beach as well. And so currently I serve at my private practice, Beachstone Counseling, here in Pompano Beach, Florida. And of course, I see clients in all 3 counties, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. I do specialize in Black male issues. And I am married with 4 beautiful girls, 3 of which are triplets. Hooray! You know, I'm also, which kind of segue to the next part of my my journey. I became a children's author because I have kids. I wanted to share stories with characters that resemble my kids, and stories that could help them grow and mature in the way that I felt was relevant. And so currently I have 2 books out on Amazon. I have a 3rd book coming out this summer, next month, in fact. And so I'm looking forward to sharing that with the community as well. So I'm happy to be here, happy to serve, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yes, when Mathew shared that he has triplets, I was like, wow, it really does happen. Thank you so much, Mathew. I would like to introduce my brother. He is my biological brother, and he is an international author, Raphael de Freitas.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Raphael de Freitas. I am Lisa's little brother. I'm an international best-selling author on Amazon.
Okay.
Me and my wife have a publishing company. I'm a certified life purpose coach, and also I'm a Marine veteran. I'm grateful for this opportunity to speak. And if anybody have any questions, you could ask. Basically, I help young men who went through traumatic stuff, or either older men, it really don't matter. Basically tell a story in an anthology, but basically anonymous, so they can really get it out and they find healing. My wife actually started the project. It's called Brutal Courage, Time to Tell Movement. And yeah, that's basically what I'm doing now. Have a few kids myself, stepkids and a daughter. My youngest daughter, she's 7 now, but she became a published author at 5. I helped her do her story. I illustrated everything. If y'all know anybody who want to get published for the low, we do business like layaway at Walmart. So you ain't got to worry about breaking your pockets right off the rip. So yeah,
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so proud of my little brother. And then we are also going to hear from Kitty London from the People of Power show, and her son, Kobe. Kitty, you want to say hello, and your son say hello to us. I know we have a lot of people on the panel, and I will let you all know the purpose of this forum on today. But Kitty, if you want to just grace us and say hello. You're muted.
Unmute myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Kitty London, and I just want to thank the Oasis Church International for this wonderful program, and Lisa again for inviting me. When you mentioned earlier the introvert and the extrovert, I'm the extrovert, he's the introvert. So yeah, so I may do more talking, so just letting you know that. I am also a Suncoast graduate. I have a film and television degree, associate in science, and I have my bachelor's in mass communication and journalism. And yes, I am the host and creator of the People of Power show. And every week I sit down with influential people who are doing wonderful things in the community and also globally. And, you know, I'm just a face in media that I think that we need right now, because we have to tell our own stories and no one can tell our stories better than we can. So I am also a songwriter, a producer, actress. I one time for Chic and Curvy, I modeled for them as well. So I'm just a little bit of everything, but I'm just happy to be here, and use me as you see fit, Lisa. And if you have any questions for me, feel free to ask. And Kobe just grabbed to say, hey, Kobe. So
Hey,
they'll at least know you can talk.
Exactly.
I'm currently in 12th grade. I'm about to
Okay.
graduate from Palm Beach Lakes. My college of choice is Palm Beach State College. I'm currently undecided in what major I want to pursue, but I'm thinking about being a graphic designer. And I'm
Awesome.
I'm going to put him to work in my production company. He doesn't know that yet, but he will definitely.
Gosh, you just stole him. I was just getting ready to steal him from you.
You can eat.
I'm sure my pastor
he can be
would
used.
love that.
He needs to build his portfolio, so use him.
Yes.
Thank you so much, though. We're happy to be here, and
Thank
amongst
you.
everyone else, thank you so much.
Thank you. And then we have none other than our Mel. If you were on our mental health forum about a month ago, you would have seen none other than Josiah Manners, who talked about the pandemic and mental health. And he is here this afternoon to talk about mental health and the civil unrest and how it has affected him possibly, and maybe his friends, how he feels about it. Josiah, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Josiah Manners. I am a communication arts freshman at Alexander W. Dreyfus Jr. School of the Arts. Like I said, I have passion within communication arts, and I'm glad to be here to share a little bit about what I have to say.
Awesome. Thank you. Welcome, Josiah. Welcome, everyone. Facebook. We are on Facebook. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. We are on our website, Oasis Church International, oasischurchintl.org, and we are on YouTube. I am Minister and Evangelist Lisa Johnson with Oasis Church International, and I am the mental health coordinator. I guess I need to just, talk about my credentials. I'm also a human resource professional for a upscale continuing care retirement community in Lantana, Florida. I have a bachelor's degree from Palm Beach Atlantic University. I also have an associate's degree from Kaiser. I have a master's degree from Nova Southeastern University. I am an author of I'm Coming Out, 31 Days of Renewal, and my publisher is none other than my pastor, Cassandra Fullwood, Cassie's Touch Publishing. I will be writing another book. I am a mental health advocate. This is from personal experience as well as experience in my family. So this stems way back for me. So we will be dealing with on today just the mental health. Mental health, we know, is a worldwide crisis. So last year we were faced with coronavirus, this pandemic that swept the nation, swept the world. And in the midst of coronavirus, we had some civil unrest, and it just wasn't fair. We were already dealing with, some health pandemics, and then we had to deal with an all known subject that has been around for many, many years, but it was very heightened last year. And I wanted to get in the minds of our young males, especially, how did that make them feel? We also have on our Zoom, we have some young females, because we know that the civil unrest, social unrest has actually disturbed the entire family. and not just African Americans, but also races of all races it has affected. But I wanted to primarily reach out to the Black community because there is a stigma, and statistics shows it, as well as all of the media shows what has been going on. Now, I will say this, we have an awesome officer from the Palm Beach County Sheriff Office that we're not going to beat up today. Because I know that, you know, dealing with the civil unrest and social unrest, police brutality, there is also, you know, so much that people say about officers, but there's also good officers out there as well. So that's why I have Officer Dexter Mills on today to talk about some of the trainings that officers receive and what he has done and why he got into law enforcement. So I want to kind of start out with one of our youth, Josiah. Just wanted to find out, when you heard of, I'm going to speak particularly about George Floyd, but I know through education and history, you probably have heard about many of the other lives that have been lost, male and female, at the hands of officers. And how has that made you feel as a young Black man?
It opened my eyes to see something that I wasn't really seeing before. We've heard about police brutality. It's happened right here in our own communities. But for George Floyd, it hit really hard for me. Personally, I'm a lover of all things politics and government. So as just to, what was that, like last month or the month before, as we were sitting through and watching the trial of George Floyd, and as they were recounting all of the terrible things that happened, like I said, not only did it open up my eyes to see this problem, but it made me want to do something about it. It gave me a charge to say, okay, I know I may not have the world at my fingertips. I may not have the world to impact, but those who are close to me, those who I know, I can make an impact there. And that can help to spark a continual, a continual motion where I'm telling you, you know, this isn't right. And it just, there was not many words that I could really put to explain how I felt. There was feelings of anger, there was feelings of confusion, there was feelings of, I don't know, it was just such a mixed, it gave me a lot of mixed emotions, because I just really had to sit down and say, what am I supposed to feel about this? It's happened before. I wasn't necessarily affected, but now as I've grown and I've opened up my eyes to see what's going on, what am I supposed to feel? So that's sort of how I felt about it.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that, Josiah. Anger, confusion, do you hear that, world? Anger, confusion, mixed emotions, and then just the question, what am I supposed to feel? Like, you know, it makes me think about even the younger children that are even younger than Josiah, and they hear everything that, you know, is being taught in their home. We definitely have to deal with this. And I implore you, Josiah, just implore, you know, you to go and, you know, organize whatever you want to, get with some, you know, legislators, get with council people, get with mayors, get with police officers, you know, and definitely you're making a difference already. Josiah is also in Delta Sigma Theta's Embody, which is our youth male program as well. So you can make a difference. And, you know, the thing about it is that in the Christian community, we believe that you're supposed to love everyone. And that's another reason why I kind of wanted to, you know, bring this together, to hear from our children. We want the racism to stop. And we don't want our children to now, because I believe that the George Floyd incident actually, it just like catapulted like so much from what happened years ago to almost like a breaking point. Like, this is it. And I think everyone felt that. I think it was felt amongst all the races. I think it was felt amongst the different religions. And us as being Christians, we're taught, because if we have the love of Jesus Christ on the inside of us, we're taught to love everyone. So how do we live with dealing with police brutality? And I'm going to ask Mathew Jean, our therapist on today, you know, what can you say to the young men like Josiah, you know, dealing with that anger and still loving people just for who they are? And I am going to get to Officer Mills because he's a good cop. But yes, Mathew, if you can just kind of answer that question.
First of all, let me say to Josiah, I definitely empathize with your sentiments that you shared. And I remember being your age and having my brother, who is 5 years older than I am, hospitalized by cops. And when the George Floyd situation happened, it re-traumatized me to the point where I had to go seek mental health counseling as well. And so even though I'm on the side of assisting, we're not immune to it either. And one of the things that I've done well as a mental health professional is guiding the avenues of my soul. Guiding the avenues of my soul, meaning making sure that I can have a healthy relationship with media, a healthy relationship with the content that I ingest, because eventually it will come to me through different forms, through friends, through family members, and predominantly through my clients, you know. So I could definitely empathize with you, and of course, make myself available to talk if you need to, you know, process this some more, because it's not easy. Like I said, it definitely re-traumatized me. So what do we do with the anger? Well, let me go backwards for a second, because we're talking about 2020. And in 2020, there was so much going on that this seemed like another blow, you know? Of course, we had, at the beginning of the year, you know, I remember one of the first things that really hit me hard was Kobe Bryant's death, you know? That was like, oh my gosh, what a year this is gonna, you know. And then we heard there was fires in Australia, and then there was, you know, then we heard that there was you know, an illness going around, and then we heard about COVID-19, and then there was, you know, social distancing, and then, you know, the way we interacted with each other shifted as well. And then of course, when the shutdown started, it created even more anxiety and panic. And then of course, the social unrest followed shortly after. And so what we were dealing with were compounded issues. Before you have an opportunity to fully process and address what you're actually feeling based on one thing, something else comes in and it knocks you side your head again. And you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even have an opportunity to finish understanding why I'm feeling this way based on the first thing that I experienced. And now there's another thing, and then there's another thing, and then there's another thing. And so it puts us in a state of being very vulnerable, very raw. And the emotions comes to the surface sometimes because of mismanagement and not having all the tools to manage those emotions. Sometimes the emotions come to the surface and it leaves us extremely vulnerable. And anger is a part of the entire process of what we feel, because I think a lot of what we were feeling without even knowing was grief. And grief is about a distortion of our reality, one reality being present, and then that reality being taken away from you, and then another reality being presented to you. So with COVID-19 and social distancing, we were comfortable in one particular reality. That reality was taken away from us because of, you know, the anxiety and because of the social distancing. And knowing that we're relational beings, being of African descent, we love to fellowship. And if you remove that from us, you're removing one of our most healthiest coping mechanisms. We gather together, not just in the church settings, but in the homes, in our communities, at the parks. You remove that from us, now you're putting us in a space where we're even less likely to cope in a healthy way. And so you have all these multiple areas of stress that you're dealing with. And a part of the grief, like I said, is the removal of one reality and trying to manage the adjustment to a new reality. So in the process of grief, you have stuff like denial, you know, like, I can't believe this is happening. You know, you make statements like this, like, what is actually going on out there? And then bargaining, like maybe if, you start asking questions to see if you can rationalize in some way, form, or fashion to understand what's going on. So you try to insert yourself as a solution, or insert some type of understanding as a solution to what is going on in general. And then the next stage after denial, bargaining, is anger, and the anger is the loss of something that you actually value. And so our reality is valued because that's a part of what keeps us stable. When we're in a stable environment, it's a part of something that we need to function day to day, to react and interact and exchange. And so in the absence of that, of course, you're going to express anger. And then to see someone that looks like you, someone that could be your brother, your uncle, your cousin, to see someone lose their life in real time, it damages you. That's traumatic. And so to add trauma to all the other experiences that we were dealing with, it's going to heighten all of the other emotions that we're dealing with. So let's talk about how we address that, how we deal with it. Well, one of the first things is the acknowledgement of it. A lot of us sometimes normalize these things, and it's not by default. Sometimes this is what we have been taught to do. These things happen so frequently that we have to learn how to tie up our bootstraps and keep going, not necessarily given the appropriate time to process, to understand, to manage, and then to detox away from it, and then to learn coping mechanisms to get you to a healthy space, So processing it, understanding it, managing it, and building the healthy coping mechanisms is some of the ways we can start managing our anger. And if the anger is disrupting, is disruptive in your day-to-day, then of course, I would suggest that we go and seek professional help. But regularly, normally, what we need to make sure that we're doing is checking in with ourselves and asking ourselves relevant questions to figure out what is going on inside, to see what it is that we can do to change what it is that we're experiencing. So ask yourself, what have I been thinking? What are the thoughts that have been going on in my mind that are connected to the emotion that I'm experiencing? What are the emotions that are connected to the experiences? So it works both ways. And then of course, what is my actual body feeling? Your body does not lie to you. Last year I had a lot of back pain, a lot of neck pain, a lot of shoulder pain, because that's where some of us carry our stress. And so if we're feeling these things, acknowledge them and make sure that you connect to the appropriate help to not let these things linger. When they linger is when they start to become disabling, where we can't connect and we can't emote, we can't relate in healthy ways, And so simple things that we can start doing regularly: drinking more water, breathing exercises, yoga, meditation, creating a healthy spiritual life, connecting with friends and family members, making sure we talk about what we've experienced and not suppressing them, making sure that we have resources outside of our regular family circle, professional help like Lisa Johnson, like Issa, which is a great friend of mine as well, making sure we connect to the resources that are available. And when the resources aren't available, making sure that we can reach out to people who may be able to connect us to those resources, So this just some of the tips. I don't want to go on and on about this, but that's just some of the things that were on my mind about that.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much. I thought about, I know there's probably people thinking, while we're rehashing the George Floyd case and, what happened a year ago, but I'm so glad you hit on so much in the trauma, because I'm one that have dealt with trauma from a little girl, and even, throughout my years, the trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma, it builds a monster, and if you don't deal with the trauma, you're going to have an unhealthy person, you're going to have an unhappy person, and you can have a person that would be here today but gone the same day, because you're not dealing with that trauma. And I like the fact that you brought out that this was a traumatic event, and it's not just, I'm sure his family, of course, but not just his family, but even others. We may not even know him as an individual or know Breonna Taylor or know Ahmaud Marbury, all the other people, but because they look like us, because we may have heard, in our families that, this is what happened years ago, and, don't trust this person or don't trust that person. And you're trying to, deal with some of the traumas you already have. And then now, boom, going through a pandemic and not being able to socialize, that's traumatic for some people, especially if you're dealing with certain mental health issues. So you're already having to deal with that. I can tell you now, I had many sleepless nights. I was very hurt. I was hurt as a human being. I was hurt as a African-American woman. I was just hurt, that someone would, take a life that way. And then it was televised everywhere, to see his life actually, leave him, it was so much. But I like the fact that you went through the stages of grief, because it is so true. And again, if it's not, one of a person that's in our family, we still go through those stages. And what happens, especially with our Black young men, because you're holding all of this anger inside, because people have told you that, you're a man, you shouldn't cry, or, you got to be strong, or you have to be strong for the family. You can't deal with your anger. We want you to deal with your anger, because guess what? If you don't deal with your anger, you're going to be seeing someone like Officer Mills. And that's what we want to stop. We want to stop that in our Black community. I want to hear from KaShamba Miller, because she has had years of experience education in the school system. So KaShamba, if you could share with us, what you have, and I know it's a little different right now because a lot of the education has been virtual, but what you have seen, what you have heard, even if it's not the George Floyd case, but cases that are similar.
Thank you so much for the question. Well, as you know, as you mentioned, many of the kids have been virtual, but of course you've had some that have come back to the schools for that social piece. As you mentioned, with the pandemic, as well as the George Floyd situation, it has caused the kids, some of the kids, not all, but it has caused many of them, as Josiah mentioned, to just wonder, what was going on, and trying to figure out how they could process this information. We have mental health counselors at each school, and in speaking with many of my colleagues, they're able to utilize those counselors in these situations. And as we know, this came from the Marjorie Stoneman Act, where every school had to have a mental health counselor there. Many of the children, they find themselves just questioning, why did that happen? And, we've been very fortunate in the city of Riviera Beach to not have to experience anything such as that. I'm getting a little feedback. Are you hearing that, Lisa, or is it just me?
I am. I'm just going to ask everyone if they would put their phones on mute. If there's anyone that phone is not on mute, if you can just put your phone on mute.
Thank you.
No problem.
So, in the city of Riviera Beach, as I said, we've been very fortunate to not have situations like that. And what we've tried to do is try to really capitalize on building relationships with our police officers and our community members, especially our youth. Before the school district was able to provide police officers in every school, we did have our resource officers in our schools. And so we utilized that time for them to, one, just try to build those relationships and be there as a positive role model, and to show them that, our school officers, our police officers are your friends. They are there to help. Yes, that did happen to George Floyd, but that should not be the norm, and that shouldn't be what they expect of police officers. So I know the city of Riviera Beach has certainly worked very hard at maintaining those relationships with the children as well as their families. And then within the schools, working with families who have, most of the times families are usually the last ones to realize that their children are having issues. Most times it's the friends of the children that recognize, or they may see that they're posting things on social media, or they may hear them talking about things just casually. And not all the times do the children take it seriously, but you do have a few that have been very engaged with what's going on with everyone's mental health, and knowing that if you hear of a friend that's saying things that seem to be a little, different from what their normal behavior is, they've learned how to be able to engage with the mental health counselors. And so I think what has come out of this, especially with the pandemic, we've been able to see our children really become a little more mature for some, where they have probably, I would assume, have watched the news a little more, because at one point, I'm sure children were more engaged with the media than they probably normally would be after that event occurred. And in many ways, it was a positive thing because it got them to pay attention and to realize, there was a serious issue that was going on, and it prompted them to start asking questions. And so I think with having family members and mental health counselors and just people in the community that are able to assist them in processing it, at this time, it has provided a great deal of support. As I said before, it's a work in progress for the cities as well as the schools, but I think we're starting to see that we're able to make some sort of positive changes with this. So hopefully I was able to answer your question a little bit.
You were. Thank you so much, KaShamba. Yeah, social piece. I like that you brought that up, because I know I've heard from many youth. I work with a lot of young people as well, and have been doing that for almost 2 decades now. And I understand, and I have my own children as well, and even my grandchildren. They need to be, they're social beings. God made us to be, social beings. So they need that social piece and hearing all that. And then they also need, it makes me think about the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs. One of that is that we need people, and we also need that sense of security. So I like the fact that the schools have the mental health counselors, that they have the police officers, and the police officers that are not just there, just to show that they're there to protect them, but police officers have also, probably found themselves being counselors. In me and Officer Dexter Mills have had that conversation, about just the different roles of the police officer. And I'm gonna, have him to talk in a few minutes as well, how, they find themselves having to be a counselor, to family members and all of that as well. So before I move on to that, also, it was something I wanted to ask KaShamba. KaShamba, in terms of any anger, have you noticed from that situation? And I'm sure if school was open during that time, it probably would have manifested itself a little more. But have you noticed like any anger, in kids being displayed against different races?
I think that would be on a case-by-case basis in terms of the schools. Obviously, a school that I work at is majority African American. And so even with other races that are there, we've never had, for the most part, race type negative interactions. And so I would say that, it probably, just speaking with some colleagues who are spread out across the county, maybe at the very beginning of the year, you may have had, but I would assume that was probably something that they probably had anyway. It may have heightened it, but I have not been made aware of any new type of interactions that are occurring because of it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And like I said, I'm sure, if school was open during the time, because you heard so much, you saw on the news, just civil and social unrest, and that is what we don't want. and we want our children to make a difference, no matter what color you are. So I want to, right before I go to Officer Mills, I want to hear from Raphael, my brother, Raphael de Freitas, as a young man, how you felt. He's an adult male. And if, you've ever been stopped, if there's any like indifference there.
Sorry about that, sis. I had left from where I was at. I was at the park.
Okay.
Walking in the house right now. 1 second. Sorry about that, y'all. So one more time, sis. Sorry. One more time.
Okay, so just want to hear from you as a young adult male, regarding what happened with George Floyd, things that have happened before, with, just police brutality, your experience, if you have any, with law enforcement, and just how you feel as a young man and what you have done, good or bad, or to even better, yourself or your community because of what has occurred.
Okay, well, yeah, as growing up as a Black man in South Florida, I have experienced my police encounters. I would say all of it was my fault. Why I had to meet them, because who I placed myself around and what I was trying to accomplish by gaining a name for safety. Well, I don't know why we think that, but we do that. So luckily, the officers that I came in contact with were the good ones. I did have a few. Let me throw the phone on the charger. I did have a few meetups with a few bad ones before, but luckily, God had me covered. So what I'm doing now is, like I was saying, I'm happy you said, like, we taught as men that we don't supposed to cry and show emotion and all that, because that's basically what I tell the guys who I work with, is that if you hold this anger in, all you're gonna do is teach it to your kids. So these kids are growing up with secondhand PTSD from your experience, and their experience might not be your experience. So that's what I'm doing now, working with youth, working with men my age, men older, helping them, get this stuff out of their heart so they can learn how to see the next person not in the same light as they did with the first other people who hurt them, basically. So that's what that anthology, Brutal Curves, was about. It was about a group of men getting together, telling traumatic stuff from their past. And these guys had the opportunity to get their name on the cover. So now they are, not only were they not only were they published and became authors, but now they had the opportunity to become entrepreneurs by selling the book and making money for themselves. And not me just sitting there collecting money off of they traumatic past, you know what I'm saying? So
Right.
That's basically what I'm doing. I'm a certified life purpose coach, because I realized that a lot of people, you go to these careers and you do this stuff, and then sometimes you sit back and be like, but what is my purpose though? Yeah, this is a passion or something, or something, a hobby, but what is my purpose here on this planet? And I think we get caught up within the day-to-day life of what we think we're supposed to do. So that's why I kind of started doing that, to help people see, that there are answers. You just have to search for them and work to get them. That's basically it.
Okay, that is good. So basically, you took a lot of your traumatic past and you put it into writing. I can relate because I'm a writer as well. So I guess it runs in the family. And then you didn't just do it alone, but you also helped other people. I'm glad you did, kind of piggyback on, being a male and having that feeling before that, you have to hold your emotions in. You mentioned that you've had encounters with police officers and it was your fault. I like the fact that you acknowledged and you took ownership for it. because that's so important, you know, for us to take ownership. And that's going to segue me into Officer Mills. And I'm going to ask Officer Mills just to talk a little bit about, you know, some of the training that he has done. I know you cannot get like deep in detail because you are still working for a PBSO, and we don't want you to violate any policies, but just some of the trainings that officers are taught, and you know, what happens when a person is stopped and resisting arrest, and how does all of that go? So if you would take yourself off of mute. I think you're still on mute. Got you. Okay.
Yeah. What was the question again, Lisa?
Okay, so I asked a few. It's okay. I asked a few questions. So just want to talk about just the training that you. Let's start there. Or some of the training that you provide for police officers.
At the Palm Beach County Sheriff Office, we have an extensive training program. The officer are taught once they complete the academy, and on occasions we have officers that come to the agency from other agencies. However, they have to go through the training of Palm Beach County Sheriff Office. And some of the training that the officers receive is defensive tactics. They drivers course. They receive training in de-escalation of force, use of force tactics, self-defense, dealing with stress awareness, officer survival skills, and it goes on. The Palm Beach County Sheriff Office takes training very seriously. And I will say that for its de-escalation of force, we was one of the first in the county, or in, I would say probably in the country, that was dealing and teaching de-escalation of force prior to the Floyd incident.
That is awesome. Yes, I know we actually talked about that. So like I say, I know, you know, you can't get deep into your policies and procedures, but what about, like, when you say de-escalation of force, what can you tell the young people in terms of, you know, resisting arrest? Like, if you're stopped by an officer and you have an arrest, and young people, please listen up, because it's so important. You know, I think, especially when you may not know that there's so many. I work in human resources, and you know, I found that a lot of people say, well, I had a warrant out, you know, for my arrest, you know, and I didn't know that I had the warrant. It could be because they may have moved or whatever. So when you're stopped and you're told that, you know, they have to take you in because of warrant, you know, for your arrest, it's like surprising to them. So I don't know if it's the fight or flight that kicks in. And I know my therapist, you know, can jump in and help with that. But Officer Mills, I mean, in terms of resisting arrest, what is your training that you can share with young people, young and older, in terms of not to resist arrest from an officer?
I would say a lot of that with the resisting arrest comes with a lack of communication. We can all agree that law enforcement is difficult and a dangerous profession. As a result, there's sometimes a breakdown in communication between law enforcement and the public, especially young adults. The public perception of law enforcement is vitally important. Police safety and ability of law enforcement to keep us all safe rely heavily on the cooperation of the local community and law enforcement, and vice versa. However, there are some measures that you can take when being arrested. I'm not always in uniform. I have gotten pulled over on numerous occasions. And, yeah, I do believe that sometimes you could be stereotyped or whatever, especially, and it has happened to me on numerous occasions by the type of vehicles that I drive. However, that's not an excuse, but, we can all agree that it does happen. And for the young adults or whatever, there is some tips, that I could provide or whatever, if you're stopped, questioned, or detained by law enforcement. I mean, is when you approach, be respectful. Retain your composure, conduct yourself as a mature manner, avoid foul language or situations that, can endanger your well-being and the officer's well-being, because, neither one of you are familiar with each other, and neither know what the other person's intentions is. Your priority should be alleviated to minimize the potential charges and the use of force against you. And some tips that, other tips that I might add is if you are stopped or pulled over, you might want to be pulled over in a lighted area or whatever. We all know that video cameras and stuff is a big thing now when dealing with law enforcement. Everybody got a cell phone, everybody's doing recording or whatever. And if you're gonna, once you're approached by law enforcement and you're being pulled over, if you do have a cell phone at your and you don't feel safe because it's a dark area, get on the phone, dial 911, call communications, and let them know what your intentions are, so that law enforcement wouldn't think you're trying to flee. You know what I'm saying? Explain to them that you're afraid, you're being stopped, and you want to be in an area, and then they'll follow you. And then, you ain't got to be concerned about, the officer getting hostile and coming up thinking you were trying to flee or you're trying to hide something or whatever. And also, whenever you encounter law enforcement, I know a lot of people, I mean, even me sometimes, because I don't know what their intentions and stuff going to be when I'm not in uniform and I'm in plain clothes or whatever, that you are not always going to get pulled over and given a ticket or whatever. Sometimes the attitude dictates on what the situation is going to be. I mean, you may be pulled over because you have a tail light out, or you have the tag is expired or whatever. But sometimes you're not going to get a ticket, but your attitude dictates to the officer how he's going to respond. He may even just give you a warning or whatever, send you on your way. Because every encounter with law enforcement doesn't require a ticket. It doesn't require you to go to jail or whatever. And, and for as resisting, it's not resisting arrest. I know you asked that question too, and yeah, sometimes that fight or flight or whatever instinct kicks in, but it's not advisable because, sometimes, the situation might seem like it's going to be hard, but if you figure it out, and with a lot of officers, they would try to explain to you your options, what you can do, to rectify the situation. Okay, you got a warrant or whatever for driving while license suspended or whatever. Okay, they will talk you through the situation, or what the bond is going to be, or how you could rectify the situation by going to court and getting it straight, or whatever, because, you know, there are times where, you know, people get pulled over, you know, and giving the officer a false name because it's their sister or brother, or whatever, and they don't want to go to jail, so they're going to use their sister or brother's name and identity, you know, to try to escape the possibility or being detained or going to jail. But there's a variety of things you can do, but like I said, I wouldn't advise anybody to resist arrest or whatever, because it puts your safety in danger and also the officer's safety in danger.
Okay, that is really, really good. You really gave some good tips, and I hope young people were listening. I'm going to just call off some of them. First of all, do not resist arrest, no matter what. Don't resist arrest. Be respectful. Maintain your composure. Avoid foul language. That is so good, because I hear that a lot. I see it a lot when I'm watching TV, etc. Know people that would just, you know, go to cursing and, you know, have anger issues, and then they want to, you know, go off, you know, on the police officer. Go to a lighted area. That is really good. And I know, you know, sometimes it does pose like a conflict. So I like the fact that you said that you can call 911 and tell them that, you know, you feel unsafe, and the purpose of you using your phone. What I've been hearing lately is cops saying, turn off your camera. You still have your camera on? I mean, I'm asking you as a police officer, and I know we did talk about different agencies have their own guidelines, but as a Palm Beach County Sheriff officer, is that legal to tell someone to turn off their camera on their phone?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's legal or illegal. Most officers, which I don't know of many in our agency, you know, that's your right. You're in your own personal vehicle or whatever, recording them unless, you know, they got something to hide. But, you know, you don't want to have if you're approached by the officer, you want to be concentrating on the reason why you're being pulled over, why you're being stopped. So just to record the conversation, you know, I don't, you know, think that would be, it shouldn't be feasible, because, I mean, yeah, some officers might feel that, okay, the phone is in the hand or whatever. It can be used as a weapon. And officers, all officers in whatever agency, officer safety comes first. But I mean, you don't want to get a phone and say, "Oh, I'm recording this conversation," and, you know, put it all up in the officer face, or whatever, because I mean that phone could be used as a weapon.
Okay. So you would advise, I mean, that because honestly, I mean, just because of what's what has occurred, I know that there are so many people that would feel more comfortable with recording it. And, you know, and I've thought about it, you know, if I'm ever stopped, I'm a female, you know, I want to have my phone, but it's the way that you conduct yourself. Is that what you're saying? Like, don't be putting it in their face. Is it the way that you should handle yourself?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
I will say, if you're going to record the incident or the encounter, if you're going to record the incident or the encounter, you know, put the phone in a safe place, you know, put it on the dashboard, put it in the seat, or, you know, they have cell phone holders and stuff now, you know, and just advise the officer, you know, that you're going to record the incident or whatever, and I don't see why he would have a problem with it, because you know, but the waving it around and holding, yeah, I'm recording this incident because you pulling me over, and I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, right there is presenting a bad attitude. And when what he pulled you over for probably could have took 5 seconds, but now it turned into minutes, and then now you're gonna prolong him So now you're gonna give him a reason to dig for other things that could have be wrong, or that he
Right.
could have added, prior to stopping you.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Because when you were saying that, it's true. Law enforcement officers are trained, I guess, to make sure that you're not, trying to hide something or buy some time on something. So listen up, youth. We want to be very careful on how we record. Maybe once the sirens go on, just turn your phone on. I'm not gonna give the advice. Just, be careful. Be very, very careful. Yes, Officer Mills.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now what I want to do, thank you so much. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. I do have another question though, because we are talking about, excessive force, the de-escalation of force. Like, what if you are handled so aggressively by an officer? Like, what do you do?
Okay. I mean, you say handled wrong by an officer. I mean,
Aggressively, like maybe thrown to the car, because I've seen it where, and not just males, but females now, where officers are kind of like throwing them to the ground or thrown. What do you do?
Okay, again, we're going back to what led up to the way the officer responded. Did the officer feel that his safety was being jeopardized, or was the officer just having a bad day and just taking out on the public citizen, which I don't know, it's not acceptable. Or whatever, but like I say, it depends on, attitude has a whole lot to do with it. And in the event that the officer was having a bad day, he slams a person down or whatever to the ground or whatever, and go, escalating the force when it didn't have to be. I mean, there's different steps you could take. You can, get the officer's name. You can get his badge number. You can file a complaint with internal affairs or whatever. And but for us getting in a physical confrontation with them and trying to fight back, it wouldn't be advisable, because everybody's different. The way I encounter an incident might be totally different from another officer. How he handles the incident. I may try to talk him down or whatever, but he may decide to use his OC or his taser or whatever to gain to maintain and gain control of the situation. And a lot of this, you have to take in the consideration too. Size of the individual, the size. Okay. If the individual, okay, you're talking about an individual might be 300 pounds or whatever. Okay, you the officer, you 180 pounds or whatever. Okay, the way you're gonna handle the force is gonna be totally different, especially if the person is combative. If the individual is combative or whatever, yeah, if you don't have any fear, you should have some fear. If you're 180 pounds and this guy is 300 pounds and he's coming at you. But a lot of things can be turned around, and you could gain compliance just with a simple conversation.
Right. Okay, cool. I have a couple things in the chat that says, in my personal opinion, I think people are starting to record based on past experiences of cops illegally abusing their authority. And then there's a comment and that was from Isa, one of our licensed mental health therapists, and then Matt, our family therapist. Sometimes that's all we have as our defense, as compliance. And as we have seen in the past, that it may not be enough. That's very true. So, I mean, the thing about it, I really, I'm hoping that everyone is hearing, what everyone is saying, what the officers are saying. I mean, Officer Mills is recommending. It doesn't have to be that way, but we know there are some times where, you just may get that cop that just may have some issues against Black people, or may have some issues against Asian people, or, whatever it may be. And, you're in the wrong place at the right time, in the wrong time. So, we really have to just pray as well, for God's protection.
Lisa, I'm not saying don't do it, but like anything else, it's a way to do everything.
Right.
I'm not saying, I don't find a problem with it personally.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's a way to do anything. Like I said at the beginning, you don't want to get the camera or the cell phone and just put it all, in front of the officer face in a threatening manner, or whatever. If you're gonna record it, record it. I mean, you can record it and you don't even have to let the officer know.
That's right. That's right.
And but I'm saying, how some of us we get agitated. Whatever. First of all, we're being pulled over, and you think you're being pulled over for no reason, or whatever. And then the officer approaches the vehicle, or whatever. Now you're agitated and you're pissed off due to the fact that you being pulled over. Okay. At that point in time, I mean, you don't have to just stick your cell phone out, put it in his face and say, hey, I'm recording this because I don't trust you guys and this and that, whatever. Now you're escalating the incident. You know what I'm saying? You can record, like I say, they got cell phone stands for the vehicles and stuff.
Yes.
Record it. You don't have to let them record it.
Right. That's good. Very good. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate and I salute you as an officer, of our county, and, the safety and protection that you provide, as well as your agency. Thank you so much. Officer Mills and I had such a good conversation because I needed to find out the questions I can ask or should and shouldn't ask. And, a lot of good came out of it. And we talked a lot about what the officers, have to go through as well. And I'm sure, after, the George Floyd incident and, all of the other incidents that, the officers had to deal with that as well. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
I mean, like I say, it boils down to the training. Every agency doesn't receive the same training, or whatever. Some receive more training than others. And I can say for us, our county, the Palm Beach County Sheriff Office, we receive, our officers think we receive too much training because we're constantly in training,
right, but any backlash, did you all receive any?
I'm sorry?
Did you all receive any backlash, in terms of the George Floyd case and then, the pressure, on the cops at that point?
Of course, it affected, a lot of people because, some people in the public, they'll look at law enforcement like everybody's the same, and everybody's not the same, or whatever. We here in Palm Beach County, we have an emphasis on, being community oriented. You know what I'm saying? We have community policing in our agency. Our officers, actually, go out, walk around, talk with the agencies. We got different programs that we have and to assist the youth or whatever, such as, DARE and PAL, and there's a few others. And but for us, the backlash, yeah, we did. And I wouldn't say it was directly, it was directed all together as law enforcement as a whole. But, during that time period and after the incident, the public viewed law enforcement in a different perspective, due to the fact that, like I said, some say, oh, you see one cop, all cops are like, which, we as individuals and adults, and kids or whatever, we know we got good cops in every agency. We got bad cops in every agency. Every family has every family has a cousin, an uncle, or a daughter, or a husband, or a wife, or a sister, or brother in law enforcement. Right. And like we discussed, they want to see their loved ones come home too. Right. What happened was unfortunate, or whatever. And me, on a personal, just my personal opinion, not having anything to do with law enforcement, I felt it, just went too far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Officer Mills. I want to move on to Kitty London. Kitty, after the George Floyd case, she actually, made a song, and it just so hit home. It was very, heartbreaking, as a mother, and it's called Now I Can't Breathe. And unfortunately, we were unable to play it due to just some technical difficulties, but it's called Now I Can't Breathe, and it's by Kitty London. You can check it out on YouTube. Kitty, as a mother, how did you feel? What made you write that song and make the video?
Okay, thank you again for having me. And I just wanted to say real quick, thank you to Matt for telling us the stress symptoms. I thought my back was hurting because of all that COVID weight I gained. But yes, we were very stressed out the year 2020. And I forgot to mention that I work for Comcast. I've been there almost 19 years. And last year, like most of us, we were all home. We were forced to watch everything that was unfolding in front of our eyes. And I would see this every day. And, I say that George Floyd's death actually happened at a perfect time, because even though it was tragic, because most of us, we've seen Black men get abused by police officers. Many, we can name them, just like everyone can call out a name, right? But what was about George Floyd that was different is the world had stopped. We all were forced to watch him take his last breath on TV over and over and over again, the knees on the neck over and over again. We had, how people say we have time today. So we had time to march. We had time to protest. We had time to, force these companies to talk about diversity and inclusion. Sorry for my dogs barking in the background. He's right with me. He's like, yes, Mom, tell him. But we were forced to do that. So as I'm sitting here as a mom watching George Floyd call out his mother in the midst of him dying, I felt my sons at that time. And, we had this thing called I Can't Breathe. So this is why I made the piece called Now I Can't Breathe, because anyone knows as a mother, when you think about when your child was sick, right? You couldn't sleep. You couldn't rest either, right? You were them. You wanted to take on their pain. So if a man is saying, I can't breathe, as a mother, as a sister, as an aunt, as a whatever, you're connected to that man. Now you can't breathe. So as a musician, I felt like music for me was therapy. Because of COVID, a lot of us really couldn't protest the way we wanted to. We couldn't do a lot of the marching, for many different reasons. So I said, you know what? I'm going to create a piece and I'm going to shoot a video. And this is why I did it. And the first lyric I wrote the song in like 2 days, right? So the first lyrics that came to me was, as a Black mother, what do you tell your son? They can kill you with their knees. They don't need guns. All they see is your Black skin as a threat. They don't care how many degrees you're about to get. And for my sons who are not in the streets, who don't have a record, who are just the best to me, when they go out in those streets or they get pulled over, the cop doesn't know that their GPA is 3.5, they're honor roll students, they don't have a record, they don't have anything in the car. They look at them as Black children. And God forbid they have a hoodie on. God forbid they're listening to loud music, right? Because this is what teenagers do. We did it. But now you look at the stereotypes across America that these children now are looked at as thugs and hoodlums. They don't care how many degrees they're about to get. They don't care if they just left college and about to have a doctorate degree. They just see the appearance. And for me as a mother, it scared me. So I made it as an art, and it went national, thank goodness. Fast forward now, we are all class of 2021. We're all graduates now. My son is high school, my other son's college, and then I just got my college degree again. So
Awesome.
we had academics through a pandemic, and I love him, and I know he's great, but the world will not know him as my baby Kobe. They'll see him as a Black man. And right now we have to change that, and just like Officer Mills said, it's not how you do, it's what you do. But I think we're so tense right now and we're so scared that when you are approached by an officer, there's fear on both ends. One fear is, am I going to get a ticket or am I going to die? And that's the reality of it now. And then we can, picture it different ways, but that's the reality. And we're scared. And this is why the cameras are out. This is why people don't want to go anywhere alone anymore, because they need that third eye. Because we've seen what happens when the cameras are off. Just imagine how many people have died when the cameras were not rolling, and you don't have a backup, So this is why I wrote the song. And as a mother, I'm going to keep fighting for the Black men and Black women, so we have a voice.
That is so awesome. Oh my goodness, you almost made me cry. It doesn't
I
take
don't
much,
want
but I'm like, oh my goodness, yes, you are telling the truth, because I am a mother and I have two sons as well, and I have a daughter, so I completely understand and I appreciate, what you have done and how that has, gone out to the masses. Kitty, you're absolutely right. It's gone all over the world, your song. And I just wanted to kind of hear from you, the pain and what you felt, because you're not the only mother. I'm sure many mothers feel that way. I remember the many nights that, I've stayed up and I've cried and I've prayed, for God to protect my son, and I mean, still do, as a mother. But, when you have, a child that, becomes wayward, it's even more difficult, especially when you're working hard and you're doing whatever you can do to take care of them. And then, they're falling at the hands of, law enforcement, where it doesn't have to be, and I agree, Officer Mills said there are things that could escalate an issue. And that's why we're educating our youth on today. Don't escalate it. But then there's other times when it doesn't even have to be escalated. It's still the color of your skin. This is the cry on today. Let it stop. We want to come together as one. And I know, we have many organizations that have been preaching this and talking about this lately. We want to let you know that Oasis Church International and Oasis Community Development Center, we are there with you. We want to join with the law enforcement officers. Officer Mills didn't mention the organization that he's with, Noble, but there's a law enforcement agency that I want us to kind of partner with even more. And we are with you, and we want the community to come together, and anyone that wants to join with us so we can come together and we can stop this and we can educate our young people. They're out tomorrow. Before we mention the names of our winners, I would love for Mathew, Jean, to close us out with thank you, everyone. Thank you. KaShamba, did you have anything else to say? I'm sorry, because I did mention to her, she's a mother as well of one son. I did mention to her if she had anything else to say. Do you have anything to say, KaShamba?
No, I certainly agree with you and Kitty as well regarding having the Black son. I mean, the same thing, same sentiment. So, and I just want to say thank you for having this forum and this platform to reach out to all of our young individuals and just provide some sort of answers and ways in which to guide them through this process.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Mathew, it is on you. If you could, kind of close us out with some additional tips. You've heard from an educator, you heard from our youth, you've heard from Officer Mills, Corporal Mills, and you said some things. What are some closing words that you can say from a mental health standpoint? Because no matter what, when it all boils down, our mental health is affected.
Definitely. I want to thank Officer Mills for sharing some of those coping And those tips that he gave to all of us, we could definitely utilize some of them. I also want to thank Kitty and Kobe for sharing their stories, and I'm looking forward to hearing the song myself. Here's some things that we can definitely do collectively to make sure that all of us are on the same page, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, is do more of these, have more of these. You know, these are so important when we gather together as a collective and share and process our emotions. This is something that I was hoping to see more of last year and ongoing. We don't have to wait for trauma and tragedy to get together like this and speak on the topic of mental health. Mental health is something that we all need to address on a consistent basis. And so as we normalize these conversations between officers and community, mental health professionals and community, my hope is that these forums can become more popular in all of our communities, to where it's happening in real time in our homes, at the dinner table, at the school bus, on the college campus, wherever we are, we having these conversations about where we are mentally, where we are emotionally, how we can grow and support each other as a community, how we can benefit from the resources we have right here in our communities, you know, tapping into those resources and making sure that we're not in denial about what we're experiencing. You know, no more sweeping these things under the rug, and making sure we can bring these things to the forefront and address them in real time so that they won't become compounded and eventually cause us to be in a state of post-traumatic stress, you know? So making sure we address these things, having more forums like this, and I believe this was a very important forum. So thank you guys for allowing us to come together and share.
Thank you so much, Matthew. We will definitely be having more of these. Just to let you know, Oasis Church International and Oasis Community Development Center has mental health at the forefront of our ministry in our 501c3 organization. Every month we have a mental health moment. And that's where, you know, I've been giving out just brief nuggets on something to do with mental health. And we're there to provide tools and resources, awareness to the community. We have a team now that has been built of people, like-minded individuals. Anyone that is interested in just coming alongside us again, we welcome you. I cannot forget my little brother. Thank you so much, Ralph, for coming on and sharing just how you felt as, you know, and feel as a young man. And I gotta say, I'm so proud of, you know, where you have gone and landed and continue to do your book. Young men, if you're interested, you know, in reaching out to someone that has been through some things as well, you know, and I like the fact that you've gotten men together. Writing is therapeutic. Exercising, Matthew said it earlier, exercising is therapeutic. Yoga is therapeutic. Deep breathing, that's one of the things that I do, is therapeutic. So we got to make sure that our mental health is in good shape, in good condition, so we can do everything that we want to do and what God has us here to do. And I know that it's not just to sit back and be sad. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to my pastor. I really, really appreciate you. Thank you to Issa, who has been typing on the sides. She has the YouTube video on the side. If you want to watch it, if you're on Zoom, you can take the YouTube video information. And again, it's called Now I Can't Breathe by Kitty London. Thank you, all of the youth that are here participating as well. So I am going to call out the names of those youth that have been on and very engaged. I saw you all engaged, young people, so I'm very happy about that. So you will receive a $20 gift card. It would be to Chick-fil-A. It would be also to Amazon, and we may have some Visa gift cards. So the first recipient is Ethan Holland, who's an 8th grade student. Brianna Ulisi, 9th grade. Dwayne Murdoch, 7th grade. Asian Hall, 11th grade. Logan Cole, 10th grade. Zion MacArthur, 10th grade. Elijah Harris, He is in high school, don't have the grade, but he's in high school. Thank you, Elijah. Blessing Ellis, 10th grade. Alexis Newberry, 11th grade, my little cousin. Kayla Davis, 11th grade. Kiara Davis, 9th grade. We also have Destiny Murdoch, who is also in the 7th grade. She will be receiving a gift certificate. We have Troy Ellis, sorry, close, 10th grade. We have Delana Johnson, 9th grade. We have Logan Davis, 7th grade. Christeria Thompson, 9th grade. And Josiah Manners as well. So those are our recipients. Thank you so much again for joining. You all have a blessed day. Stay tuned. We will be having another mental health awareness forum in the month of July, and that would be on grief. And we're going to be dealing with a lot of people that have lost loved ones, friends, family, co-workers, etc., due to the social pandemic. So you all take care, be blessed, and thank you so much.
Bye.